Assalamu alaikum and welcome to your weekly edition of Morning Break. I'm Fatma Rizvi.
And I'm Humera Mirza, and today we have our special Ramadan-orientated advice, tips and features on today's show.
That's right, so definitely stay tuned. But right now, just to start off the show, let's start off with Hadith of the Week. So Humera, what Hadith have you picked out for us?
Well, I have a Hadith from our fifth Imam, Imam Muhammad Baqir alayhi salam, and he says Islam is based on 5 things: prayer, zakat, hajj, fasting and wilaya. And I really like this because I think it does actually summarize all the different elements that make up our belief system. And again, considering we are in the month of Ramadan, I think the fact that the fasting is mentioned shows again, as well as all the other things that we've discussed in terms of how important fasting is, it shows its beauty in terms of making up a massive part of our faith.
Yeah, and I totally agree. And I think also the fact that it says wilaya. Now, a lot of people might think that, oh, but that's not shahada. But wilaya is shahada because obviously in the shahada, wilaya involves the Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and his holy Ahlul Bayt. So, that's important as well, the fact that it's not just about saying, yes, I believe in one God and Rasulullah is the last messenger of God. It's about also who comes after Rasulullah. And that's also very, very important. And we all know that followers of the Ahlul Bayt, that is key to being a true Muslim. So that is definitely a great hadith.
Absolutely. And I think just following on from your point about wilaya, I think the point that you're trying to make there is key to understanding the fact that the Prophet, peace be upon him, for him to have completed his message in the first place, that is the whole point of wilaya, to actually complete what he was there to do. If, to say shahada on its own, of course, a statement of faith, believing in one God and his Prophet, peace be upon him, is a massive part. But unless that message is continued, there was no point in it coming in the first place, and that's where wilaya comes into it. And so there's a lot to think about with this hadith, and I think I really like the way that, like I said, it just encompasses all aspects of our faith as Muslims.
Yeah, I totally agree, and it's a great hadith, and it's some great words from our holy Imam alayhi salam. And we hope that you benefited from that hadith. And also we would like to take this opportunity to let you know that you can email us at morningbreak@ahlulbayt.tv for any feedback that you have. And you can also join us on our Facebook page. There you can follow any updates that we have. You can give us direct feedback and you can know what's happening on future episodes on Morning Break.
Absolutely. But now it's time for Article of the Week. So this week's article, in line with Ramadan, is about swimming in Ramadan in schools. I thought it was interesting because there's quite a lot of fuss being made about it and people with different opinions. I've taken the article from the BBC, and the article is actually written with a viewpoint of Stoke and Staffordshire. So it's regarding a specific area in the UK. But I'm sure it's an issue across the UK as well. The title is Schools Advised Against Swimming Lessons in Ramadan. Now, what I thought was interesting is the school, it's quite cool actually, the school authority for the schools has actually released an 11-page document where in it they've given advice as to how a school can kind of work around a Muslim's or young Muslims' best interests in terms of achieving in school. So, for example, with swimming, although they've said that Muslim children can go swimming, they've suggested that it might be better for schools who have a lot of Muslims within the school to actually reschedule the swimming lessons for a time outside of Ramadan, in case children are worried about swallowing the water, because obviously there is a high chance you'd swallow water if you were swimming. They've also talked about rescheduling certain lessons. They've also talked about just bearing in mind, for example, that if you were going to set exams through that time, that children from a Muslim background who are fasting may not necessarily be able to focus properly. Having said this, it's quite nice that they've done that, but another authority have actually said at the end of this article they don't agree with that, because why should a whole school have to change because of Muslim pupils within it? It's almost, they've said it's almost like enforcing Sharia law, where all the Muslims and non-Muslims alike have to follow this rule. and they have no choice. Whereas what you could do the other way around is actually give Muslim pupils an option to opt out of things like swimming, whereas everyone else carries on like normal.
Yeah, that's true. I'd probably that would probably benefit the whole school as a whole if kids could opt out of it. Rather than disadvantaging other children. But then maybe the reason why they're saying no, let's not be swimming during Ramadan, because then what will happen is I suppose some kids will advance ahead of others, because I suppose it depends how well you can swim, etc. So maybe imagine maybe all the Muslim kids would, still be in the bottom class, but everybody else would have moved up one class. I mean, don't know, hypothetically speaking, but...
Yeah, and that's what they've said in this, that it's important to bear in mind that you want to reflect the background of the school. So if there are lots of Muslim pupils, then they've kind of suggested in this 11-page document that it makes more sense to tailor your day according to the majority in the school. So if they're Muslim, then like you said, that way if like 9 out of 10 students in a class won't be swimming, then what's the point in carrying on that way if it's just one? Also, I think if students were given an option to opt out, then most students, regardless of whether they're Muslim or not, would opt out, especially when it comes to things like exams. So I don't know. I thought it was nice that they're sort of scheduling themselves around the sort of Muslim population.
I think that's absolutely right, and I think it's great that they are doing that. But it does make sense if it's a majority Muslim school, then why not? To go with the majority. But that's an interesting article. Thanks for that. Well, now it's time to actually go and see what Sister Sakina has to say on a mother's advice. Let's take a look.
Assalamu alaikum, and welcome to A Mother's Advice on Morning Break, where we will be discussing the issues and challenges faced by mothers in our society today who are striving to raise their children in the best way possible and in the path of the Ahlul Bayt alayhim as-salam. Here with me today is Sister Fatima Dala, and we will be continuing our discussion on the benefits of the holy month of Ramadan and teaching our children the importance of the holy month of Ramadan. Assalamu alaikum, Sister.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah.
So, Sister, encouraging our children to fast from a very young age is something that many people in our community have mixed feelings about. So, what age do you consider to be the right age in which to encourage our children to start fasting?
Well, I don't think you can say that there's a specific age that your child should start fasting from. But obviously, as parents, we all know our children better, and each child is an individual. But our children are going to grow up in an environment where they're going to see us fast every year. They're going to see their community members, their family members, their friends fast every year. So automatically they're going to want to get involved, and they're going to want to fast along with us. So when you find that your child is showing an interest in fasting, then maybe start them off with fasting a few hours a day. And if they're fine with that, then increase that to half a day, and then slowly a full day, and see how they go. I mean, if you feel that your child can't fast every day, then give them a break in between, and just kind of build up their ability to fast and their ability to tolerate hunger and thirst that way. But it's very important that we do start from a young age when our child is ready, especially when we're talking about girls, because our girls become baligh at the age of 9 lunar years.
So just for the benefit of our viewers, what is 9 lunar years according to the Western calendar?
9 lunar years is roughly around 8 years and 9 months, which is actually their 9th Islamic birthday as opposed to the 9th English birthday. So when our daughters become 9 Islamically, the first Mahr Ramadan that follows that, they'll have to fast the whole month. So we need to make sure that with our daughters we actually train them a little earlier, because we don't want them to get to the age of 9 and then find it so difficult to fast that it becomes very hard for them. We want to build up their ability to be able to do that. So we have to start a slightly younger age with them and really encourage them to fast and really give them incentives to fast, so that by the time they reach the age of 9, they're able to fast with relative ease.
I think you're absolutely right in saying that, for girls we should start them fasting at a slightly younger age, since they do become baligh at the age of 9 years, and fasting does become obligatory on them at that age. We should get them used to fasting at a slightly younger age in order for them to build up their ability to fast, like you were saying. And the parents should take each child as an individual. Just because one child fasted at a slightly earlier age, it doesn't mean that the second child can do the same. And therefore, the parent should consider the child as an individual and see what that child's ability to fast is by starting them perhaps with a few hours and then building up to half a day and then a full day. But I find that often in a household in which everyone is fasting, in which the parents are fasting, the older siblings are fasting, very often the incentive comes from the child themselves when they see everyone around them fasting, including their peers.
Very true.
And therefore the child will then often go to their parents and ask them and try and take permission from them if they can actually perform the fast.
Yes,
and I think this is the right age in which to encourage them to fast, when the incentive comes from themselves.
Very true, and the cue should come from the child themselves. If it comes at an early age, that's excellent, and we can always add to that by giving them more incentives. Like, so when they complete their first fast, for example, we can take them to the toy store and buy them their favorite toy, or give them a reward by making them something that they really like to eat, so that they feel really special. They feel that they've done something very special, and it's something that's really worthy of a reward, so that they encourages them to do it more often.
Definitely, that's so true. And I just remember the first fast that my daughter completed. Her father took her out the whole day, keeping her occupied so she wouldn't remember that she's fasting. And he would take her to this toy store and buy her whatever she wanted, so that that would be her reward when she completed the fast. And with all this special attention, she enjoyed it so much that she wanted to fast several more fasts later on. And I think that these positive experiences do have a great impact on younger children.
That's right, I absolutely agree with you. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala actually, even in the Holy Quran, the way He encourages us to fast and tells us to fast, it's not like a command. He does it very gently. It's a very gentle tone. In Surah Al-Baqarah, ayat number 183, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that fasting has been prescribed for us the way it was prescribed for those before us, so that we may gain piety. And this is really important, that we use this gentle tone with our children as well, because we should explain to them that suffering hunger and thirst for a whole day is not going to be easy. It's going to be difficult. But other people have done it before them. We've all done it, and we've all been able to do it. And it also has so many benefits for us in this world and the hereafter. And there are benefits that we cannot measure. So if we explain it to them that way, it's similar to when we give our children vaccinations. It hurts them initially, but the benefits that they derive from it outweigh the fact that it hurts them. So if we explain it to them very gently and in this gentle manner, just as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala explains it to us, our children will then understand the deeper meaning of fasting as well.
That's so true. And I think that parents should consider, the same way that a vaccination provides physical benefits for their child, fasting will actually provide ample spiritual benefits for them as well.
Absolutely.
So, sister, what other good actions should we encourage our children to perform in this holy month?
Well, there are many, many good actions that we can encourage our children to perform in this holy month, because this month is just full of blessings, and the good deeds that we do in this month are just multiplied in reward. One of the things that we must encourage our children to do is recite the Holy Quran every day. And most of our children will be doing this anyway. So we must add to that and maybe encourage them to memorize maybe a small surah of the Quran to start off with, and then gradually work up to larger surah of the Quran. And this way, Mahr Ramadan will become a time where they actually memorize more of the Quran. And this will be greatly beneficial to them both in this world and the hereafter. And our children's ability to memorize will also increase, because as they memorize more, they'll be able to memorize larger surah as well. So this is one thing that we can definitely encourage. Another thing that we really should do is actually get them to recite the special du'as that are allocated for this special month. There are so many. I mean, some of them are quite small and some of them are very long. And we shouldn't feel that our children are too young for it, or that they will get tired reciting such long du'as, because they have to learn how to recite these from a young age. And if they learn this, then as they grow up, they won't be happy going through the day fasting, and they'll feel something is missing if they don't recite these du'as. But if we keep saying that, our children are too young at the moment, when they grow up, when they become older, when they become older, they won't be used to it. They need to get into the habit of reciting these du'as, even if they don't understand it all, because when they grow up, then they will explore the meaning and they will understand it. But by that time, they will know these du'as so well, it will become something that will become second nature to them. So it's really important that they learn these du'as as well.
Yes, I think you're absolutely right. And I think parents often underestimate what their child is capable of. And I think when a child is asking their parents, I want to stay longer at the mosque, or I want to complete X number of fasts, then the parent should be very encouraging towards that child at that stage and not underestimate their ability. And I think you're absolutely right in saying that, we should encourage the recitation of the Holy Quran, in our children every day, especially in this holy month, and get them to do that little bit extra in this holy month so that they know that this is a special month which is highly associated with the recitation of the Holy Quran. And I think in this day and age we are so lucky because we have so many publications, so much material, and so many booklets out there that are geared towards children, teaching them about the holy month and all the acts that they can perform in this holy month of Ramadan. And I visited East Africa recently, where I came across a fantastic booklet which is called My Ramadan Diary. And this particular booklet is particularly geared towards younger children, and it is extremely colorful. It has all the du'as, the shorter du'as which children are able to recite, with the translation presented in a very child-friendly manner and with illustrations as well. And not only that, but it has each page is dedicated to each day of the holy month of Ramadan. And what I find particularly fantastic is that the child can write, their experiences of their first fast and, their feelings during their first fast during this month. And also they can tick off in a particular section on that page, whether they prayed on time on that particular day. And this takes them through right to the end, right up till the day of Eid. Which on the page which signifies the Eid day, they're reminded of, the association of Eid with purity, feeding the needy and sharing happiness. So I thought this book was particularly fantastic. And, if our viewers at home are interested in purchasing this book, please feel free to email me at morningbreak@ahlalbayt.tv. So, I think this book is particularly good, and it will be of great benefit to our younger children. Thank you very much, Sister Fatima. That's it from me, from A Mother's Advice on Morning Break. If you have any questions or queries regarding the topic discussed, please feel free to email me at morningbreak@ahlalbayt.tv. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
I really liked what they were talking about there, about how different ways to sort of get kids involved, because it seems to be different every week. I particularly like the part about getting young children to recite the longer surahs and longer du'as from a young age, because I hadn't thought of the fact that it helps with their memory. But also, people say and it is true, when you learn from a young age, that sticks in your memory a lot more than when you try later on. So why leave it until it's late? And also to get them in that routine of reciting longer du'as, because, let's admit it, all of us sort of sit down to recite them and think, you get halfway through and you think, okay, I swear I've been reciting for like half an hour now. When is this going to finish? But if you're used to that from a young age, then, it's nothing. And that's a really great tip.
No, it is. And I think she's quite right when also she says that, it doesn't matter they don't know the meaning of it, because when they get older, they're going to get inquisitive and they're going to ask. Yeah. And they're going to then themselves explore what the actual meaning is of the dua. And I actually can relate to that, because when I was younger, I would, read this, the dua that you read at Sahri time.
Yeah.
And, I didn't know the meaning of it. But then obviously, the minute I got into my early teens, I was like, what's the meaning? And so my mum would tell me the meaning of it. And also you can now get the meaning off the internet anyway, in English as well now. So, and it's really, really nice, and it adds that kind of extra, meaningful. It becomes meaningful for you because you know what you're saying. So it's definitely really good.
Yeah, and I also think because of the fact that this month is so holy and it does have so many blessings, I also really liked how they said that we should explain to children in a very soft way, the same way that Allah explains to us in Surah Baqarah, where He says fasting has been prescribed for you and for those before you. And, talking about the benefits of this month. I really like the fact that it kind of is reminding us that children and adults alike, you should speak to them in a very soft and approachable way regarding this month, because of the fact that it's a chance for us all to gain blessing. So it's not something that should be taken in a forceful way.
Yeah, I totally agree. And what I particularly liked was that Ramadan diary. The fact that, as a young kid, you can literally chronologically, go through the diary and, use it, and it'll be so great, and it makes the fasting more personal and more also meaningful and private for the child. And I think that is great. I would personally, when I was a kid, I would have loved to have had that diary.
Yeah, I think that's something, kids love stationery and stuff anyway, don't they? So I think that's something that would work really well, and I like that concept. I've seen people do things like that with adults, not for Ramadan, but generally, like for example, say you miss Salah, there's like, I saw it at one of the Islamic centres where it's got like a tick box that you can tick off whether you prayed all 5 on the day, and if you haven't, for example, you would tick the one you've missed, and that way you've kept track rather than forgetting, for example. And I think that's a really good way of sort of our generation starting to write things down, etc., having illustrations and proper ways to kind of break down du'as with translation, and that's really helpful for children. And I think it's something that even if people don't buy the actual diary, they could make up for their children. Not necessarily with the du'as, but give them a sheet of paper or put something up on the fridge, those magnets, where you could just ask your child at the end of the day, have you actually done this, this and this, and tick it off, and if they have, you could give them a reward for it.
But absolutely, if obviously viewers at home want to, know how to get the diary, and then obviously you can email us at morningbreak@ahlulbayt.tv, and inshallah we can forward you the details of how to get the diary. Right now though, it's time for us to go for a break, so please do join us for part 2. And it's some great words from our holy Imam alayhi salam, and we hope that you benefited from that hadith. And also we would like to take this opportunity to let you know that you can email us at morningbreak@ahlulbayt.tv for any feedback that you have, and you can also join us on our Facebook page. There you can follow any updates that we have, you can give us direct feedback, and you can know what's happening on future episodes on Morning Break.
Absolutely, but now it's time for Article of the Week. So this week's article, in line with Ramadan, is about swimming in Ramadan in schools. I thought it was interesting because there's quite a lot of fuss being made about it and people with different opinions. I've taken the article from the BBC, and the article is actually written with a viewpoint of
Assalamu alaikum and welcome to your weekly edition of Morning Break. I'm Fatma Rizvi.
And I'm Humera Mirza, and today we have our special Ramadan-orientated advice, tips and features on today's show.
That's right, so definitely stay tuned. But right now, just to start off the show, let's start off with Hadith of the Week. So Humera, what hadith have you picked out for us?
Well, I have a hadith from our 5th Imam, Imam Muhammad Baqir alayhi salam. And he says Islam is based on 5 things: prayer, zakat, hajj, fasting, and wilaya. And I really like this because I think it does actually summarize all the different elements that make up our belief system.
True Muslim, so that is definitely a great hadith.
Absolutely, and I think just following on from your point about wilaya, I think the point that you're trying to make there is key to understanding the fact that the Prophet, peace be upon him, for him to have completed his message in the first place, that is the whole point of wilaya, to actually complete what he was there to do. If, to say shahada on its own, of course, the statement of faith, believing in one God and his Prophet, peace be upon him, is a massive part. But unless that message is continued, there was no point in it coming in the first place, and that's where wilaya comes into it. And so there's a lot to think about with this hadith, and I think I really like the way that, like I said, it just encompasses all aspects of our faith as Muslims.
Yeah, I totally agree, and it's a great hadith.
Stoke and Staffordshire, so it's regarding a specific area in the UK, but I'm sure it's an issue across the UK as well. The title is Schools Advised Against Swimming Lessons in Ramadan. Now, what I thought was interesting is the school, it's quite cool actually, the school authority for the schools has actually released an 11-page document where in it they've given advice as to how a school can kind of work around a Muslim's or young Muslims' best interests in terms of achieving in school. So, for example, with swimming, although they've said that Muslim children can go swimming, they've suggested that it might be better for schools who have a lot of Muslims within the school to actually reschedule the swimming lessons for a time outside of Ramadan, in case children are worried about swallowing the water because of them. And again, considering we are in the month of Ramadan, I think the fact that the fasting is mentioned shows again, as well as all the other things that we've discussed in terms of how important fasting is, it shows its beauty in terms of making up a massive part of our faith.
Yeah, and I totally agree. And I think also the fact that it says wilaya. Now, a lot of people might think that, oh, but that's not shahada, but wilaya is shahada because obviously in the shahada, wilaya involves the Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and his holy Ahlul Bayt. So, that's important as well, the fact that it's not just about saying, yes, I believe in one God and Rasulullah is the last messenger of God. It's about also who comes after Rasulullah. And that's also very, very important. And we all know that followers of the Ahlul Bayt, that is key to being a true